Welcome back. It is time for Season 2, Episode 3 of 5 Random Airports and Airfields. And this week we're going to jump right on over to jolly old England and we're going to check out 5 abandoned airfields that were used by the 8th Air Force during World War II. Alright, so first up is going to be RAF Debon. RAF Debon was built in 1937 and used all the way up until 1975. Early on in the war, it was instrumental in the Battle of Britain and housed the number 11 Group RAF. In 1942, RAF Debon was handed over to the U.S. and redesignated as Station 356. And I believe now this particular location is a museum. So let's just take a look around and see what we can see and see what we can see that might be left over from the days of old. To start out, you have this large cluster of buildings here, and you can tell that this was probably all once part of RAF Debon. And then there are some locations here that are not designated by AutoGen scenery. I'm not really sure where the actual museum would be here in real life. But the runway is still totally visible to this. At least it's visible in Flight Simulator, which is kind of cool. There's some old structures over here. Not much left of the runway there. The taxiways are still clearly visible. And some of the what would be the old structures from the base are clearly still there. Sorry about the noises. I have my airplane hovering over the airfield. Well, after the 8th Air Force took over, it looks like they have soccer fields out here, or would be football fields. I'm sorry. When the 8th Air Force took over, they housed P-51s here. At least that is what I read. There's an old parking spot. That's pretty cool. So lots to see here. Really kind of an interesting location. And I did check each one of these to see if there was any kind of scenery that somebody may have done to take it back to what it looked like during World War II, but there was not. But, alright, well, I'm going to go check something, then I'm going to come right back. Alright, so this would have been the barracks. I've narrowed that down to a picture. So that would have been where the old barracks building was located. And then the memorial is right out here alongside what's left of the airport. Or the airfield, I'm sorry. So quite an interesting location. Place was huge. It took a lot of real estate, it looks like, at one point. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one, I think. That's going to do it for RAF Dresden. Or Station 356. So next Next up is going to be, this is actually EGSH. This will be Norwich. It was Horsham St. Faith during the war. This particular airfield was built in 1940 and was used for the military until 1967. It also housed the 458th Bomber Group for the 8th Air Force, which flew B-24s out of here. So that was kind of interesting. This is not as abandoned as I thought it was going to be. Of course, Horsham St. Faith no longer exists, but now we have a more modern runway, of course. But you can see parts of what is left of Horsham St. Faith. Mainly, it would have been this runway here and the taxiways that aren't being used. And now you just have one single runway versus where they would have had, looked like they had a runway here and a runway there, and it looked like that may well have been a runway as well. But it does look kind of just like a taxiway, doesn't it? I'd have to go back and look at those pictures again. Let me go do that. Actually, looks like it may have had 3 runways during World War II. The RAF used this particular airbase until 1942 when they handed it over to the 8th Air Force. Let's see what we can see on the outskirts here. I did see something that caught my attention. There we go. So this must be some kind of air museum. Check that out. That's really cool. I'd love some third-party scenery for that. It's got a Vulcan parked there. Wow. That's pretty neat. And those, I would assume those are buildings left over from the war. So that's pretty cool. And then you can see the remnants of the airfield where they cut it off with the road when they built the road. So could you imagine the sounds coming out of this place during the war? The thunderous roar of the B-24 engines as they're taking off. Just crazy. What a different time. Back at EGSH, or Horsham St. Faith, and I went and I found a scenery file for this airport. Now, when I first looked this up, I found it as Horsham. So my assumption was that all of these were going to be abandoned this time around, but that is not the case. And there is a really good scenery file for this airport. So you can find that at flightsim.to. It is by Raptor with 2 R's 111, and just I'll provide the link for it in the video, or in the description of the video as well. But it adds quite a bit to the entire airport and the way it looks. So let's just go back and we'll look. This will be a good comparison. Really nice airport. And we're back over towards the museum over here. So that's kind of what I wanted to go check out. Ask and ye shall receive. Check out the static displays. Isn't that cool? What a cool museum. I kind of want to go there. I'm assuming that's a museum. Look at the size of that Vulcan, man. Okay, let's go look over here. Take a look at the rest of the airfield. Or airport. This is far from an airfield anymore. So there is quite a bit more to look at with that extra scenery file. I kind of like it. I really like it. And now the terminals and everything are a little more accurate. And the buildings are a little more, they're more accurate to their actual pictures, like the KLM building. Pretty nice. Hats off. Good job. But that's gonna be it for Horsham or Norwich. Again, you can find this, find the scenery file on flightsim.to. That's kind of interesting looking. I'm assuming that must be parking for some kind of jet or something. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on to the next one. This was interesting too. What used to be over here. But that scenery file, it did clean it up quite a bit too. Alright. So next up is going to be Thorp Abbotts. This would have been the home of the 100th Bomber Group. Would have housed B-17s. And this particular base was built in 1943 and used until 1956. This is also the home of the Bloody 100th. There's a lot of interesting pictures on the internet of this one. Unfortunately, there is hardly anything left. There is a museum, but I looked that up and it said that it is temporarily closed. And there is absolutely nothing left of the runway. The only thing I can really make out, which could be part of the runway, is this area right here. This is where the museum is. And this, I'm guessing it's going to be over in these buildings, or it could have been here. But it was from what I could find on the internet, it was towers. It was just a tower, a command tower. But it's hard to say. I mean, this looks like it could have been part of a possible runway at one point. That looks like a taxiway to me. But it's really too hard to tell. The runway itself was pretty elaborate. It was large, but it was right in this area. So that is Thorp Abbotts Airfield. Not much else to show here, but that is what we are looking at. That to me that could be just a farm over there, but on the map it showed the museum as being in this general area here. So, your guess is as good as mine. Is the location of the actual museum here, and it must be the only thing left of Thorp Abbotts. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Alright, so next up is going to be Steeple Mor Aerodrome, and this is going to be home to the 355th Fighter Group and was used between 1940 to 1946. And like all of these were handed over by the RAF to the United States for the 8th Air Force to use. This particular airfield had a squadron of P-47s that flew out of it. And as you can see, there is nothing left today. Nothing left of the original runways. The original runways actually covered this entire area. And you'll see some structures down over here that could have been related to the airport. But from what I have found, these are the actual museum/memorial buildings for this, what would have been this aerodrome. So not a whole lot to see here. And it is just a mirror image of what it used to be. But these are going to be it right here. So I think that's going to be it for Steeple Mor. We're going to go ahead and jump on to the next one. You know, imagine what it must have been like, you know, any one of these airports to have heard the planes that used to fly out of here. The roar of the piston engines. I mean, it must have been just totally amazing. And wouldn't you like to go walking out here to see what you could find? You know, buried in the dirt anywhere out in this area. Okay, so on to the last one. And lastly, we are looking at Bingen. And this particular airfield was used between 1942 and 1972. So there is still quite a bit to see of what is left of this abandoned airstrip. This was home of the 11th CCRC, and it actually flew B-17s out of this field. So there's quite a bit of interesting history here. You can still make out the runways and the taxiways. So I'm assuming that the base, I mean, it's stretched out. This place had a pretty huge footprint. So there's your airport or airfield. It looks like they would have had 2 runways. And then your the actual base. It'd be interesting to see what these look like today versus what they look like in Flight Simulator. But I would assume that most of these areas would have been parking for the B-17s and the grassy areas. So you can make out a little bit of what is left there. So this, they've actually turned into, would that have been part of a runway? Another, yeah, that would have been probably part of another runway. Huh. This might have been where the base buildings were. Alright, so what I could find is this is all a prison now. The actual base was here in this location somewhere before it was all torn down. There are some really good pictures online of what some of the old base, the old structures from the old base, what it looked like before they were either taken away or destroyed or whatever they did with them. But this is all modern, and then the actual base location would have been in here where all the trees are. It's kind of sad, really, but that is what it is. Alright, so I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. For whatever reason, I can't fly here. Something's going on. I've really messed up Flight Simulator tonight, jumping in and out. I've reset it a couple times, and I can't seem to get it to get me to where I'm flying. So, with that being said, we're going to just close this video out, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you in the next one.